residential sector on behalf of the whole Replace consortium. Let me share a few political and also personal thoughts with you. Just a second. One more war has started where fossil energy sources are at the core of the conflict, at least as an instrument, as a weapon, and has put money to pay for weapons. The war in Ukraine has big implications on the energy sector in Europe. Suddenly, keywords such as energy dependencies, security of supply, reliability, price stability are getting high importance again. And this is the only good thing of the situation. The current situation is impacted by many insecurities, fears, and skyrocketing energy prices for fossil fuels. For a long time, for a too long time, the energy transition in the heating and cooling sector was politically neglected. Instead, the focus was mainly placed on the power sector, later also on the mobility sector, as we heard, for example, in the morning session. Now we pay the price for that. The Replace project is exactly focusing on this, promoting the change from fossil energies to renewable heating systems in the heating and cooling sector. In 2020, the Replace consortium prepared a short paper at the European Biomass Conference with the title, An Urgent Call for the Phase Out of Fossil Space Heating Systems and for the Support of Renewables in the Heating Sector. And in this paper, we urged to really ambitiously support the overall energy transition in the heating sector, to stop subsidies of any kinds of fossil fuel heating systems. In Germany, for example, we still use taxpayers' money to support natural gas boilers, and to develop clear and ambitious plans for the phase out of fossil heating systems for new buildings and also for the old or the existing building stock. In addition to this, we recognized in the project that there is an urgent need to support dedicated workforce. We are currently in many countries lacking qualified installers that cope with the increasing demand. The same applies to energy auditors and advisors. And the last issue is we really need to focus also on the refurbishment and insulation of existing buildings. One more issue I just want to highlight, it's the surprising news from the European Commission on the EU Taxonomy Climate Delegate Act to include nuclear power and natural gas as sustainable energies. For me, this is a no-go. This is diluting the policies. This is really a challenge for the whole sector. I have many other issues to say, but I will shorten it because we are running out of time. But let me just say a few things. First of all, to the Replace Consortium. Second, to my colleagues Benedetta Di Costanzo and Ingo Ball for the organization of this event. Also to the organizers of the World Sustainable Energy Days, but not to forget our coordinators, the Austrian Energy Agency, mainly Herbert Tretter and Carina Knaus, for the excellent coordination of this project. And finally, I have some personal remarks. I encourage you all to get active yourself beyond your professional work in your organizations. You're the experts, you're the multipliers, so use these capacities also in your private life, change your heating systems, insulate your house if you haven't done so, and also try to mobilize politicians and bring them also in the boat. This is my wish, and with that, I wish you, or I wish all of us, a very nice and fruitful workshop. Thank you very much. And I hand over directly, I think, to Herbert.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dominik, for giving an overview of our current situation and for your warm words and for your call to action. Yes, I will go now to share my presentation, short overview of our action. And as you heard already, I'm the coordinator of the project Replace. And I welcome you also in the name of the Austrian Energy Agency and all project partners involved in this project. And thank you for joining us today and for taking time to listening to what our project serves to you, and hopefully you'll find some interesting information that is helpful for your daily work. So our project is about making heating and cooling for European consumers efficient, economically resilient, clean, and climate friendly. And here you see an overview where we are active in Austria, in Europe, not only in Austria, sorry. So we are active in Spain and Germany, mid-European countries, and southeastern European countries. You can also see here the organizations, our partners involved. So at the beginning of our project, we have been 12 partners. Serbia dropped out, so now we are 11 partners. And we are active in 9 countries and have different situation in terms of socio-economic conditions and market development. So the project, our objectives, the first one is that space and tap water heating at residential households shall become independent from energy imports. And the second objective is that green heat shall come from close to your homes, cleanly and efficiently from one's own roof, garden, soil, or local forests. So it's all about becoming independent from energy imports. In Europe, we have, in general, have the green equipment, skilled workers, and sufficient local energy sources to end this dependency. But many issues still have to be improved and have to be improved quickly. And from our view, households need easy access to product neutral know-how to take informed decisions and to quickly end dependency by local energy sources. So we have developed a couple of tools that should be quite helpful to enable informed decisions. One of them you see here, it's the interactive online heating matrices. You see here, like in a traffic light system, which energy systems fit to which houses in terms of energy consumption or refurbishment status. So that's a very quick picture what system goes with which house. Later today, I will show you the details of one of our core tools. That's to replace your heating system calculator. It's a kind of an easy do-it-yourself energy advice tool. You will hear more about this later. We have 2 handbooks developed with all information that is useful for households on the one side, and there's a second handbook with information for professionals and investors. All these tools are free of charge and are accessible via our website. And finally, we also have best practice examples, I think nearly 40 from covering all regions from realized best practice examples. So these tools and product neutral information is available in 9 languages for 9 regions in 8 countries. And you see here where the regions exactly are, that they are not covering the whole country except for Slovenia. And in these regions, a total of 8 million people are living. Another core point of our action is that we establish local working groups that are those people that are really active in each region in terms of heating market, and we developed with them to jointly tailor-made activities. There's a long list of activities which we developed in our action the last 2 years, and for 1 year we are now actually implementing this long list of activities. It's really long. I think you will hear more about this later in the next 2 hours. And here is the team, the picture of our team, and I'm really happy to working with all of them. So thank you for listening to my input.
Thank you very, very much, Herbert, for in a way a little bit of a preview of what is to come in the next 2 hours or so. We will have another input on the project replace very shortly. And we will also have an introduction. People are not muted. We will have another intro of the tool, one of the tools Herbert mentioned also. But for now, I am very, very happy that we have our next speaker on board to talk about decarbonizing the heating and cooling sector. It is Professor Nevin Dujic from the Department of Energy, Power Engineering and Environment, University of Zagreb, and he also is with the Svedes Center. And already I see the screen sharing is working. So Professor Dujic, I hand over to you, and a very warm welcome from my side.
Thank you very much, Karina. I join to Dominique's words how timely this workshop is and how bad idea was to make residential heating depending on fossil fuels being brought from far away from a country we are now in war with. So we obviously have to quickly decarbonize, even if we look at from the climate perspective, we practically have to decarbonize heating by 2040. And one has to take into account that equipment installed for heating usually has around 20 years lifetime. So basically, we are still installing fossil fuels in homes, and we have to remove it from the climate perspective by 2040. And from the energy security of supply perspective, we should do it by 27 or more probably even by the next winter. So there is a certain urgency in order to do that. Which are the ways to decarbonize heating? We have four possible pathways. One is district heating and cooling, which is the most versatile way for urban heating, because we can use waste heat coming from industry, from services. We can use solar energy. We can use geothermal energy where it's available, heat pumps, biomass, whatever. Everything can be put into the heat stream and brought to our homes. Or we can use heat pumps as individual heating system. There are two other ways which are not so good in my opinion. One is gas decarbonization using biomethane, hydrogen or e-methane instead of natural gas. The problem with such an approach is that we need 5 to 6 times more primary energy in order to produce such hydrogen from renewable sources, which means 5 or 6 times more land has to be used for primary energy production, which is not a very good idea. Other thing is that we will have lots of hydrogen after 2040, which is much too late for decarbonization of heating. We have to do it now. Also, biomass boilers, which we use a lot in Southeast Europe, is not really a very sustainable way of doing it because local emissions are hard to control. And anyway, we should use biomass in a cascade for more high added value products and only use waste biomass for heating and preferably in district heating. What if we all go fashionable way with heat pumps? One has to think that if we replace all the heating with heat pumps, the heat peak is around 5 to 20 times higher than electric peak. At low temperatures, when the peak occurs, COP of heat pumps is around 2. So that means we need 2.5 to 10 times more electricity, which is not really a way we want to go. We can, of course, solve it with heat storage, but we need around 3 to 4 cubic meters per dwelling. And that is perfectly okay in rural areas. But in urban areas, we don't have space to do that. So district heating is an extremely important way to solve decarbonization of heating in cities. Also, we don't really want to have in lovely urban historic areas something like this. This is from Diocletian Palace from the 3rd century in Split. We think that district heating and cooling is much better solution for such areas. So looking at Linz, where we are not, and Wels, where we are not here at the moment, but we would love to be, we can see the Heat Roadmap Europe map, which shows which areas are feasible for district heating. Those are the areas where we have high demand for heating concentrated, because that makes district heating viable. You can go and see on the Beta 4 website, and you can see for your own areas where it is feasible to do district heating and where we have to go with heat pumps. We have also done additionally maps for Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia in the Southeast Europe area. If we look at surplus heat in Europe or waste heat, there is plenty of it. Only in major sources we have enough to cover all of the heating demand in Europe. Unfortunately, we cannot use all that because waste heat is not always where the heat demand is. But in Heat Roadmap Europe, it was shown that around 50% of the heating demand could be covered by waste heat from such large sources. Also, we have to think about moving towards 4th generation district heating, reducing the temperature to 60 to 70 degrees of our district heating systems, because this allows us to better integrate power and heating system, what we will need in future. Because the ratio between heating and hot water is much lower, and we have a much more continuous heat load. We need to think about heat storage, because this is a crucial part of the fully decarbonized energy system in Europe. Currently, we will still be using combined heat and power, which will be following electricity demand. So that means we need heat storage. We should use waste heat from various sources like power plants at the moment, waste to energy, industry, services, wherever we can find it. Heat from solar, biomass, geothermal, biogas, electric heaters, and heat pumps are solutions that can be used in 4th generation district heating. If we look at European policy, district heating up to 25 should have, in order to be called efficient district heating and to be part of the taxonomy and consider a good way of process of decarbonization, should have at least 50% renewables, or 50% waste heat, or 75% of cogenerated heat. After 26, it should be at least 50% of renewables, or 50% waste heat, or 80% of heat from high efficiency cogeneration heat, or at least a combination of such thermal energy where renewables are at least 5%, and the total share of renewables, waste heat, or high efficiency cogenerated is at least 50%. So one can see that in time we have to move to more renewables, to more waste heat, and to more efficient cogeneration, which should be completely phased out after 35. We don't want to use any more fossil fuels after 35 in district heating. We can see this example of solar district heating in Vukovar. So it means that even when Russian gas is cheap, as it used to be in Croatia, it's actually viable to use solar district heating for summer demand. So it makes sense to replace fossil fuel boilers during the summertime with solar system, because then you can supply all the hot water during that period of time.
Ich habe außer die Eckos angelassen, deswegen riechst du so verbrannt.
The problem,
Riechst du den Geruch?
can you turn off
Ich
the
habe außerdem die
microphone?
Eckos war noch an,
Aber die-
ich habe es nicht gesehen.
Hang on.
The problem with solar energy that its peak is in summer and we need heating in winter. And therefore, if we want to go more than summer months into solar district heating, we have to have thermal energy storage. And one should note that the price of thermal energy storage is falling strongly with the size. So for the district heating based on seasonal thermal storage, it's actually not very expensive. Funnily, in Denmark, there are a lot of such systems. In Germany, there is also such systems. But in Southern Europe, which has much better solar potential, we don't have many such systems. And they actually financially can make sense if the financial mechanisms are done in a way that full socioeconomical benefits are taken into account. Also, one should note that Europe is full of geothermal energy, and some areas like Pannonia, which is, for example, where I'm sitting at the moment in Zagreb, could fully be heated by geothermal energy. We are not really using this energy because gas is the king in those areas, and it's very difficult to penetrate their market share. On the other hand, now with the expensive gas coming and the need for fast removal of gas boilers, I think geothermal energy will be a very fashionable way. Where do we want to go? We are moving towards the system which will mostly be based on wind and solar. And wind and solar are variable, and we will have to build a big excess of them in order to fully cover the legacy electricity demand, which is time critical. This is the red line. What are we going to do with the excess wind and solar? Well, we can use it to heat and to deliver it to the electrified transport. Power to heat technologies can significantly help the energy transition towards the 100% renewable energy systems. So we need this power to heat connection because this is crucial for the future of integration of variable renewables. In order to conclude, I would like to say that wind and solar are coming, but they're difficult to integrate. We need to integrate power, heating, cooling, water, and transport systems as soon as possible. We need smart energy systems, which have to be cheap and simple. We have to concentrate on district heating, which is very versatile in integration of various heating flows in urban areas and heat pumps in rural and suburban areas. So integrating all kinds of renewables, but also renewable electricity. We should take care to use biomass only in cascade, not really to chop trees in order to do heating, but use wooden biomass for more higher added value purposes and use only waste biomass for heating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Deutsch, for this presentation. Maybe if you stop the screen sharing so we can see each other during the discussion. Megan, if you could spotlight Professor Deutsch as well. We already have a raised hand from Rainer from BIP, so I would give the word directly to you to ask a question, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Karina. Greetings from Munich. Nevin, many thanks for your very nice presentation. I have, like, as you know, I'm part of the BIP team. I have not been directly involved in the Replace project. So maybe this question is already answered, but when you are talking about waste heat from power stations and industry, isn't that waste heat from fossil sources mainly, like currently? And basically, we know that especially energy intensive industries, they have a lot to do to replace their fossil sources. So maybe there will be less waste heat in the end. So it seems to be even more complicated than you were saying. But how would you respond to?
Yes, you're completely correct. It's now mostly fossil energy. But waste heat is the one that would otherwise be lost in surroundings. So if we catch it instead of waste it into environment and pollute the environment with this heat, we are actually doing a great service to the environment because we are not using other energy for heating. And we have it today. And it's huge, and of course it will be lower in the future, but bear in mind that most of high temperature energy processes will still need some kind of combustion. What we think, it will mostly be renewable hydrogen at some point, but the waste heat will still be there.
Okay.
Of course, the waste heat from cogeneration plants or cogeneration heat, that one will be reduced significantly because we will be moving to renewable electricity. But in time, we will be moving towards using more renewables and heat pumps instead of the waste heat. So one has to look at this like this. If we put the district heating infrastructure to heat homes, we can use whatever source of heat we have. Currently, we have huge amount of waste heat. Why not use it? But tomorrow, it will be solar energy, geothermal energy, heat pumps, working on the wastewater collectors. So it's a versatile thing. You don't have to change anything on the side of supplying heat with district heating by changing the source of heat.
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. With everything you've said, I can't wait until I finally will be connected to district heating. Thank you very much for your input. In view of the time, I would say if there are any more questions, please, I suppose, feel free to contact Professor Deutsch in the chat. I'm sure he'll stay with us and he can also maybe answer in the chat. I would then move on to our next speaker and our next input, which looks a little bit more at Replace and what we did in the project. And I'm very happy to introduce Gaspar Stegna from the Josef Stefan Institute Energy Efficiency Center in Slovenia. And Gaspar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karina. A very warm welcome from cloudy Slovenia. I will start off from Triter's presentation that has already described project just a little bit. I will try to elaborate a bit more. So with heating and cooling, comprising about 50% in Europe of final energy consumption and over 68% of all gas imports, permanently reducing consumption and increasing the share of renewables in this sector is paramount for a successful energy union. In particular, the fact that 80 million out of 120 million installed space heating system in Europe currently achieve an energy label class C or D gives rise to major concern. Replace project therefore aims to boost the phase out of inefficient and old heating and cooling systems by targeting consumers, investors and owners, as well as intermediaries, and helps them to make more informed decisions. Facts regarding high share of inefficient boilers, need for fossil fuel replacement and energy independence give rise to motivate end consumers to replace their equipment as quickly as possible with more efficient, environmentally friendly alternative system. This is the point where replace projects comes to aid. The first overall objective of replace projects is to implement targeted campaigns to make heating and cooling for European consumers efficient, economically resilient, clean, and climate friendly. All activities proposed by Replace aim to inform and motivate consumers to replace their old and inefficient heating and cooling systems with better, greener alternatives, with the benefit of monetary savings and improvements in air quality, comfort, safety, and security of supply. The project focus is on the residential heating sector. It is coordinated by Austrian Energy Agency and runs until October this year. This is the picture that Traitor has already showed. So the geographical focus of our project is in Western, Central, and Southeastern Europe. Consortium today consists of 8 regions covered by 12 partners. Replace project overall targets over 8 million end consumers directly, with an estimated direct impact of about 8 gigawatt hours of primary energy savings. To actually transpose the project's objectives during and beyond project life, every project partner establishes and cooperates with local working group, which comprise local and national key stakeholders residing in their targeted regions. Key members of the local working group actively support the implementation of project findings in the target regions. All consortium partners can rely on strong local networks and are perfectly placed to steer the work of the local working groups that also improve existing replacement policy programs and implement tailor-made policy measures facilitating the execution of the campaigns. One of the most important results of our projects are the tools that can be used in order to aid the decision-making process. When replacing inefficient heating systems, the replace heating matrices provide an initial overview. They show which type of heating system based on renewable energy sources or a connection to district heat is most suitable for single or double family houses or for larger volume buildings. What kind of system is recommended depends on the energy need for heating according to the energy performance certificate. The replace calculator will be later on presented by Herbert just in a few moments. Furthermore, handbooks for end consumers and intermediaries, as well as investors, were created. For example, end consumers will find technical and economic information on modern heating and cooling equipment, condensed and easy to understand. Here are also the links. So later on, after our workshop, you will be able to find out by yourself just a bit more. And just a few successful stories about replace projects in action. First, Austria. This year, this month in April, the Austrian one-stop shop for boilers and oven replacement is going live. And this is an offer organized by Austrian Energy Agency. From this month on, end consumers can use a new internet platform of the pilot initiative, first in the province of Salzburg, to select a provider in their vicinity. And the provider, among other things, undertakes to install climate-friendly heating systems and to take their old boiler with them, carries out heating checks and to save energy, and provides a mobile heating container in the event of heating system failure, thus creating time for replacements. So next successful story is from Bulgaria. Replace project partner BSARC was directly involved in increasing the subsidy for renewable heating system on the national level sevenfold to 70 million euros. To ensure that end consumers are equipped with climate-friendly pellets for the coming winter, BSARC is also organizing a joint purchase into municipalities in the summer of 2022, which will also have a positive effect on the energy price. In Spain, they have a new subsidy scheme. Project partners Iran and ESCAN organized a workshop for professionals, where 41 participants learned more about climate-friendly heating so that they gained knowledge they can now pass on to end consumers. Project partners also made more knowledge about biomass directly available to end consumers, where 200 houses and 200 boilers are getting an information label. 10 information hubs have already been established, and what is the most important thing, a new subsidy scheme developed by Iran is helping to switch a total of 10 megawatts of residential boiler capacity from fossil fuels to biomass within some months. And one more story is from Slovenia, in Slovenia, everyone that wants to apply for a subsidy for climate-friendly heating automatically benefits from the replace heating system calculator. This is because the office that awards the subsidies advises all applicants they are able to calculate their energy and monetary savings by using the replace heating calculator, where they receive information on suitable climate-friendly heating systems for their exact situation for their funding application. Furthermore, there was a collective action where we replaced over 134 oil boilers that were switched to the heat pumps. So this would be all from my side. So thank you for now. Thanks for the attention.
Thank you very much for your input. I'm really always quite amazed what has happened in all the replace partner countries. So that's an amazing job you have all done, all the implementing partners. Already see a thumbs up. I don't see, let me check a question in the chat. If I'm correct, is there anybody who would like to raise their hand or has a question right now? I don't see anything. Well, I would say, seeing as we have more input from Replace, if a question comes up, feel free to pose it at a later time or keep posting in the chat. Thank you, Gaspar, again for your input and your overview. And just to give you maybe a little bit of an outlook on our next items on the agenda, because I think we had a little change from what we originally sent out. We still have an input on real life stories, renewable heating and cooling options. We have, as Herbert already explained, an input on an introduction on the heating system calculator that we developed in the project. And then, of course, we have our roundtables with all the partners from all the countries, so we can have a good overview of what is actually happening in different places and around Europe. So that's sort of a little bit our outlook. And with that in mind, I would move on to our next input. As I said, renewable heating and cooling options, real life stories. And that will be given to us by Benedetta Di Costanzo from VIP Renewable Energies Munich. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karina, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go into a bit more detail about some of the reports and of the project outputs that have been mentioned by the previous speakers. So I'm going to give you a short overview about a report that we have recently published, which is a practical guide for end users who want to replace their old heating system. I'm then going to present you the handbook for intermediaries and investors that we prepared in the framework of the Replace project. And then I'm going also to present you another very interesting report, which is a collection of best practice examples of renewable heating and cooling replacements across Europe. So the first report is this handbook, which is a practical guide for end users, which has the objective to advise end users who are considering to replace their heating system or are considering to undertake an energy efficiency measure at home. The report is available on the Replace website. I imagine these slides will be made available online on the World Sustainable Energy Days website, so you can directly download the slides and click on the link which is on this slide and open the report. The report is available in 9 languages, so English, of course, but then also in Bulgarian, Bosnian, German, Spanish, Croatian, Macedonian, Slovenian, and Serbian. Of course, I cannot read the whole report right now, but I hope that with this presentation, I will catch your attention and attract your curiosity so that you might want to go and download the report and read more about it. To give you an overview of what the report includes, I can tell you that we provide useful information on the benefits of replacing an old and inefficient heating system with an innovative low carbon and renewable system. In particular, we cover the economic benefits, the environmental benefits, and the social benefits. We advise consumers on the steps that they should take in order to take an informed decision when replacing their heating system. We provide answers to the most frequently asked questions that end users ask in the replacement process. And last but not least, the report also includes nicely illustrated and colorful technology fact sheets for each of the technology covered in the report. So which are the technologies covered in the report? So of course, when you want to replace your heating system, you have so many options right now available on the market. The Replace project covers all the renewable heating and cooling options which are available in the European market today. This means that the fact sheets and the project cover biomass boilers for wood pellets, log wood and wood chips, but also modern wood stoves and pellet stoves, heat pumps, solar thermal system, photovoltaics, renewable cooling, multifunctional facade systems, but also other heating options which improve the efficiency of your building, like collective actions, shading and insulation, and infrared heating systems. So one of the probably most interesting chapters for the end user is the one which advises the end users on the steps to take when undertaking a replacement process. Just to give you an idea of what is in the report, we list all these steps, which in the report are described into more detail. For example, the first step to be taken is to get familiar with the technologies available on the market, and the Replace handbook is a very good tool for that. As a second step, if you want to replace your heating system, you should check whether a total or partial insulation of your building shell is needed on top of a heating system replacement. in order to ensure a good and efficient functioning of your new system. You should get in touch with an energy advisor, which can advise you on the best solution for your home. You should estimate the benefits and the costs of the replacement. You should, of course, contact an installer to install your new system. Whenever possible, apply for regional and national incentives, which are available for many renewable heating technologies across several countries and regions in Europe. And last, you just enjoy your new system and spread the words about how great it is. The second report I wanted to present today is the report that we prepared for intermediaries and investors. This is also available on the Replace website and also in the same 9 languages. And the objective of this report is to encourage the commitment of intermediaries and investors towards the transition of the residential heating and cooling sector. But what do we mean by intermediaries? So intermediaries are installers, chimney sweepers, building developers, energy advisors, and we provide them with in-depth knowledge of the renewable heating and cooling system options available on the market today. And we also, in the report, we also provide tips for intermediaries on how they can become well-trained facilitators of replacements, and how they can communicate the benefits of these innovative renewable heating solutions to their customers. Because as Dominic mentioned at the beginning of this workshop, one of the issues today is that not all installers are actually aware of all the benefits of the renewable and latest technologies which are on the market today. And the report also addresses investors, and by investors we mean financing institutions, public authorities, energy suppliers, and homeowners. And we provide information to them about economic issues, best practices, and innovative business models and model contracts for renewable heating and cooling solutions. Again, just to cover some of the chapters of the report, I can tell you that one of the chapters provides really very practical tips to intermediaries on the replacement project phases that they should undergo step by step when having a new customer and replacing their old heating system. So, of course, the first step they should undertake is a conception and consultation with the customers, planning of the replacement project, design of the replacement project, at the commissioning and disposal of the old heating system in case this is an existing building which has an old heating system which needs to be replaced, the realization of the project, which means installation of the new system and commissioning, and then of course the operation of the new heating system and the maintenance of the new heating system, which should be done regularly. One of the other chapters of the report also includes tips to intermediaries on the most common mistakes which are sometimes done when installing new heating systems. And we cover some of these most common mistakes in the report. For example, it can happen that the installed heating system is of the wrong size, which is not a good thing if it's too small or too big, because it doesn't ensure the most efficient functioning of the new system. Or what could also happen is disregarding the quality of the distribution water and the importance of the hydraulic balancing, or poor ductwork installation, insufficient drainage, inadequate inspection and missed opportunities in home performance, and insufficient refrigerant charge. And all of these points are again covered more into detail in the report. And also this report for intermediaries and investors includes fact sheets for the technologies covered by the project. And the fact sheets are useful, very useful tools for the installers, because for each technology, the fact sheet says what is the best building type for that kind of technology. The fact sheets provide planning guidelines and recommendations for installers. The fact sheet also says which technologies match with each other, and also suggest some selling points for installers to tell their customers. So how to convince their customers about the benefits of these of the renewable heating system that they are trying to sell. Yes, as I said, the report is not only directed to intermediaries and installers, but also to investors. So for example, the chapter on the investors covers the reasons why investors should invest in renewable heating and cooling. There are many reasons. I'm going to go quickly into through all of them, but more details again are in the report. So investors should invest in renewable heating and cooling because of the high economic returns, because of the instability of fossil fuel prices, and we know this today better than ever before. Because then also because the renewable sector might provide many new jobs in Europe, because the stable regulatory framework which is currently in place at EU and national level, because of the positive externalities for the society, including, for example, the reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions, because of the security of energy supply that renewables can provide, because of the creation of economies of scale, because of technological leadership of the European Union, and because installing a renewable heating system in a building increase the business value of the property. And the last replace report that I would like to present to you today is the best practice examples report. So this is a collection of, yes, around 40 examples from across Europe of real life stories of people who decided to replace their old heating system or to undertake energy efficiency improvements in their buildings. So this is really to show that in all the countries covered by the project, an improvement of the heating system is always possible, and it can be implemented. It is possible and technically and economically feasible, and it can be implemented, giving you many benefits. Here in the coming slides, I'm just going to present you very quickly some of these examples, but you can find many more in the report. So the examples which are covered in the report cover, yes, residential building refurbishment, heating and cooling systems replacement, demand response and collective actions, but also more innovative approaches like utilizing mobile heating units or innovative building renovations. For example, here I have the nice story of a family in Bosnia and Herzegovina which switched from a black coal, from a heating system powered from black coal to pellets. And I'm not going to go through the figures in the table, but you will see that they gained not only economic benefits from this switch, but also environmental benefits. So they are benefit their pockets, but also the society by improving the air quality around them. Similarly, here in Slovenia, we had the story of a family which replaced their oil boiler with a heat pump and a solar collector together. And again, this switch brought significant benefits to the family and to the environment. And last but not least, the example of a mobile heating unit in Germany to work as a bridge during the replacement phase of an old seating system into a new one running on wood chips. So since the replacement would take some years, the building in this case, it's the swimming pool of the city of Penzberg, decided to replace temporarily the heating system with a mobile container unit, which runs on renewable wood chips. We have a similar example also in Austria, and you can find many more in the report. And yes, all the reports, as I said, are on the Replace website. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Benedetta, for your overview of all the handbooks and fact sheets that we have created in the Replace project. And also for the real life examples. I think that's always really nice to say that at the end of the day, it's real families who are actually saving money and also helping the environment. So that is lovely to see. I don't see any raised hands. There was a question in the chat, a very good one on barriers, because we've now seen obviously every day you see fossil fuels is not a good idea. So the question is, why haven't we already done that? Really, but I think I will take that to the panel, because I think everybody will have something to say to that. There is a question, I think, that is directly for you, Benedetta, namely, to what extent can these tools be used for non-residential buildings?
Yes, so the main target of the project is residential buildings, but well, definitely some of these technologies are also can also be applied into non-residential buildings. Probably the fact sheets of the end users report and of the intermediaries and investors report really refers more strictly to residential households, but otherwise the description of the technologies are valid also for non-residential buildings.
Thank you very much. As I said, you will have all the links in the end, and obviously also feel free to browse through our Replace website and see what you can find there. Thank you very much, Benedetta, and we will move on to our last input from the Replace project itself, and that will be our project leader himself and my colleague, the Austrian Energy Agency, Herbert Tretter, and he will introduce us to the Replace heating and system calculator. Herbert, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Karina. I have now the opportunity to show you one of our main tools that we developed for this project. This tool was developed based on an existing tool in Austria from the Climate and Energy initiative of the Ministry of Climate Protection that we could use for our project and that we could adapt for all regions in our project. And we also made some additional features and we integrated them in this tool. So this tool is meant for residential buildings and can be used by households, but also by professionals. First, I would like to start to give you an overview about the tool, and then we will look into the tool. The tool's objective is to give orientation, what to do if you want to change over your boiler or your heating system. Given you have an old fuel oil, natural gas, coal or logwood boiler or direct electric heating. And this tool helps you to quickly see what information helps you to make a decision. to move to an alternative renewable heating system. So the basic situation normally is just that you have to think a lot about when you want to make a changeover, which technology, what fuels are available in your region. Do you have the possibility to connect to a district heating grid? Can I calculate some subsidies? Are they available? What are the costs of the heating system itself? And can I get an estimate what my annual costs will be, also including the investment, the upfront costs? And this calculator gives answers to all of these questions and should enable the users to find quickly the best solution for one's house. And this tool can also be used by professionals or for businesses, so that there's wide scope to use this tool. The tool is free of charge, and there's a website address, the domain where it's available, and the partners will constantly update the tool. It's multilingual, and it's also has default values inside. I will show this later. And the tool is also a white label tool, so businesses, professionals can integrate this calculator via a frame into their own website, or they can place a link to the calculator on their landing page. Yes, if you are interested to use this tool as a white label tool, just contact the national project partner. They will help you. And the calculator will be hosted until end of November 2025. So that's also a period that makes sense to integrate it into your businesses if such a tool is not available yet in your region. What is the case in many countries, what we experienced. So as I told, the tool was developed based on an existing tool in Austria. It features 8 European target regions and works in 7 languages, including for every region you have also a version which is in English. And the tool features technical and economical default values for a range of houses, starting from single family houses to larger blocks of buildings. It can cover default values up to 20,000 liters of oil consumption equivalent. So that's a far wide range where the tool can be applied. The economics, we calculate annual full cost of the heating system of the different options of renewable heating. So there is the upfront costs are we calculated to an annuity, where the subsidies are taken into account if there are any. We calculate service and maintenance costs, fuel costs, and CO2 costs can be considered. And you can also find the annual cost savings compared to your existing systems with the new system, and also the CO2 emissions avoided. And the tool is quickly moving you through. I think I will show you this best within the tool. There's also a quick mode if you are a newcomer to this topic, or there's a professional mode if you, for example, don't just want to rely on default values, but if you have concrete prices and costs based on offers, you can input those actual costs for your situation. And the tool also features a lot of the fact sheets that Benedetta told us before, even useful contacts and best practice examples. Those things are also all integrated into the tool. Yes, now I will show you live how this tool works to give you an impression. So I will share now my browser to give you an insight into the tool. just by a quick example how this tool works. Can you see it already?
Thank you, Herbert. Yes, everything is good.
Okay. Okay, so you start with just moving, selecting a region. I select, for example, the region in Austria. In Austria, we have 9 provinces. It's the province of Salzburg, which I choose. And then I choose English so that all of you can follow. Here's some text that I already explained in my presentation. And here are the 3 steps. There's one step with basic information about your house. Then there's a second step where you are asked which options are feasible for your house. And the third step then is already the results. So you can move quickly through. You just select the altitude your house is situated. Then you give in the living space the number of people living there, whether your existing system is a central heating or an oven. I select the central heating, and then you can select for both types of heating systems, can select the energy carrier, the energy carrier that is currently heating your house. So there's a wide range of to choose from. For your old system, I choose oil boiler. Then the tool automatically suggests fuel consumption for a typical single family house in Austria. This would be 2,500 liters. I leave it as it is, and then you can select the age of the boiler that determines the efficiency of the whole system. Then you can also add any type stove if it's existing and enter the consumption. I leave it as it is. Then you'll be asked for the type of heat release system. Is it a high temperature system or a very low temperature system? This also then has an influence on the technologies you will be recommended, and also on subsidies available, if any, because in some countries, if you have a radiator, a heat pump won't be subsidized, for example, and the tool takes that into account. I leave here the radiator. Then you can determine for your new heating system if the system also provides domestic hot water or not. And then you can also choose if you have a solar system or not, or if you want to have a new solar system, for example, and for what purposes this solar system should work, if it's just for space heating or just for tap water, also for space heating. Then you confirm. That's all what you needs to know about your home. Then you confirm the definition of a house, and then the second step asks you, can you connect the house to a district heating grid? Yes or no? I let you know. Can a lorry get access to a house to deliver pallets? I'll leave here. I'll let it here yes. And the third thing is if you have space to store logwoods in the house, I'll leave yes here. And then just by one click, you get the results. Here you can see a ranking of the renewable heating systems for the new systems that you could choose from. And here this is ranked by the annual costs, the full costs of heating, including investment minus subsidies. So that's a very quick overview for Salzburg here. What would cost me a new system for my house that actually fits to the size of my house and consumption. And here you can see also the results as bars. So the total annual costs are here split up into the investment part of the total costs. Then the mid dark blue is referencing the annual service and maintenance costs, and the bright blue bar relates to the fuel costs of the different systems, and the yellow bar relates to the CO2 costs of the indirect emissions of the renewable heating systems. So the yellow cost part is rather virtual, because this cost part won't affect your heating system, because that's mainly maybe in the fuel in the fuel provision, this CO2 costs could finally end up. So if I set here €0 per ton, then this gets lost. And here are the details. If you are interested in a pellet boiler, for example, then you get a lot of information. Here you can see the net investment without including subsidies. So 10,000 euros would be the money that you would have to pay upfront by yourself. The rest is paid by the public funds. Annual cost savings compared to your existing systems would be 400 euros, and CO2 saved would be 7 tons. And here you can find a lot of technology infos and contacts, best practice examples, or the information that Benedetta told before. So that's the quick mode, and the expert mode would allow you to input not the default values, but to input actual values from offers. So the default value would be 20,000 euros. Investment, 10,000 euros promotion. Here you can change the energy prices of the old system, oil, and the new price of pellets. And you could also change the maintenance costs of the old system and the costs of the new system. And then, for example, now the oil prices are much higher currently. And then you would have to update, and then you would see that the cost savings increased from, I think, 800 euros I had before to 2,300 euros. Yes, so that means you have a very quick overview, and you can get a lot of information from this tool, and you have many technology options to choose from. And I think this tool is really helpful, and I recommend it to you to get a look into this tool. There's a lot of additional information, for example, myths and facts and so on, and also also what should I refurbish my house before I change my boiler, and all these things are covered by this tool. So that was what I wanted to tell you about this tool. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Herbert. And we do have a question in the chat. If you can compare the different, or the tool can compare the different heat pumps regarding the cost of electricity. Rising cost of electricity mean higher cost for heat pumps too, if you don't have your own PV system. So I think that's a similar question that was in my mind, obviously with the rising energy prices and really significantly, what the update cycle is going to be for the default value, or will the tool take that into account? The change in prices across all in Austria, we've seen price increases for every energy carrier, whether it's pellets or natural gas. Or would that have to be done by the user, as you showed with the default values?
Yes, that's a good question. The prices now are really changing very fast and quickly, so we cannot take pace with the market changes. But I think we will update the prices from time to time, every 4 to 6 months. But the user always has the chance to change the prices by him or herself. So in general, that's not a problem, because if you know the prices, or if you make a little bit of research, then you can enter the actual figures by yourself. That's not too difficult. And I forgot that the tool also has a lot of has a kind of a manual inside it. There are some mouse over points where, when you click on it, you will get additional information. So there's a handbook also included in the tool that will help you. I hope this answers the questions. But that is for all different heat pump technologies you can enter. And you need only enter once a new electricity price, and then it's taken over for all other technologies. where electricity is used. You don't have to fill in 4 times electricity price for the 4 heating pump types. So it's needed only once.
That's good, because in some places we do have also differences, regional differences in electricity prices, or depending on your supplier. So I suppose for the household, it makes most sense to really then put in the individual values. Mr. Dernbauer, do you want to add to that, or?
Yeah, hello, thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. My question had the origin, you compared the different heat pump systems, geothermal heat pump, air heat pump, and so on. And I would be interested in the fact how big is the difference in running the different heat pump systems? So as far as I know, air heat pump systems are very inefficient, and geothermal heat pump systems are more efficient. So can you maybe explain us the difference? Which system costs more because it's more inefficient?
Yeah, this somewhat levels out. So as I said, the air heat pump is rather inefficient depending on the temperature needed in the house. So, but if you compare, if you have a given flow temperature in your house, 40 degrees, for example, you have a low temperature heating system installed, floor or wood, ground, floor heating or wall heating system is 40 degree flow temperature, let's say it like this, and independent which heat pump you install with this 40 degree target temperature, you can say that the air heat pump has the lowest efficiency because of the outside temperature can be lower from the air than from a groundwater heat pump or from the earth heat pump. But of course, the air heat pump is cheaper, but has a lower, but because of the lower efficiency, the fuel price would be higher. So this levels out, and a geothermal heat pump would be very expensive, the most expensive one probably, but the efficiency is the highest, and then the running costs are lower. But if you take the upfront costs and the running costs together, then this somewhat levels out. It might be that because of the risen electricity costs, that the air heat pump is always a little bit more expensive if you consider the total costs that might have changed than to before. Maybe that answers your question. But if you use the tool, then you will see the difference, because we consider the total costs, the running costs and the upfront costs, and then you have levelized costs, and then you will see the difference even if you enter different electricity prices, and then you can see how it behaves among the technologies. Because there are inefficiencies and all this is included. That's very high sophisticated tool. That's included in the tool, how the efficiencies behave depending if you have a radiator or other, what temperature levels you need. So that's very sophisticated tool and delivers good results, because this tool is used for 5 to 10 years already in Austria, and all that time it was constantly improved, and that was where we built on. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Herbert, I have another question. I think that's related, namely what efficiency values for heat pumps are taking into consideration. I'm not sure we can answer that right away, because it is a very complex tool, but
I can answer this quickly because there is a sub tool of our tool where this question is easily answered. It's called Mach4, and I will enter the website. Then you can see exactly the numbers behind our tool. For experts, this is a tool for experts, but you can see then how it works and what figures are behind. Okay.
Super, thank you. But these default values, that was add-on, they cannot be changed, or can they be changed?
No, that figures can't be changed because that's really something for experts. But it can be seen by this Mach 4 tool, what's behind the story. So the black box is a little bit enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the discussions we've had in the team also was how much input would be good. Obviously, for experts, you want to customize everything because then you get the result geared to your situation. But then if we think about households, we want to use this tool to get our first overview, then the more you ask them to customize things, the more challenge there will be. So that was the sort of, we've tried to find a tight line here in the two. And thank you. There was also a feedback that it is a helpful tool. So thank you very much to you, Herbert, and everybody in Replace who worked on it and delivered the input, and obviously everybody in the last 10 years who helped to improve the tool and make it the way it is today. So thank you very much, and also for your questions. And now we can move on to our panel discussion. Originally, when we thought that we could actually meet in Wels, which we all would have liked very, very much, because this EU project has gone on for like 2 years, and we have met once, basically. So that is obviously in a way very, very sad. But so we decided, because it's an online format, we will move on directly to the roundtable, where we can discuss obviously the challenges and the drivers for renewable heating and cooling in Southeastern and Central Europe. And for that, I introduce speakers from all our partner countries, except for Croatia, where we had a short-term cancellation, as it happens these days. But I am very, very happy that everybody else is here, if even only virtually. First of all, I introduce Samra Murazfaj from Innova Consultants and Engineers from Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I think she will join me on the panel in the spotlight, I hope. I always see myself, but there we are, perfectly. Hello, Samra. Then next, I welcome Angel Nikolaev from the Black Sea Energy Research Center in Bulgaria. Hello, Angel. Then we have Emilia Michaloshka from the Steves Center in Skopje. A very warm welcome and greetings to you. Then we welcome back from Austria, Herbert Pletter from the Austrian Energy Agency.
Hello.
Hello again. And last but not least, from Germany, we have Ingo Ball joining us from VIP. So there he is. Hello, Ingo.
Hello.
Hello. So thanks to all of you for joining us on the panel. And I think, first of all, it would be good if you give us like a little bit of an overview in your country, what the heating and cooling system is like, so we sort of get a little bit of an overview what the sort of central issues are in your country. So Samra, if you could take it.
Okay. Thank you, Karina, so much for your very warm welcome. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm Samra Murazpahic, and from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I work for a company Innova, which is part of Replace Consortium, and I work in company as an energy efficiency and climate change consultant. At the beginning, I would like to give some brief overview of the residential heating and cooling sector in our pilot region for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Pilot region for Bosnia and Herzegovina is a canton of Sarajevo. So I will share with you some data and some information about the current situation in a residential heating sector in our pilot region. So out of 200,000 households in Sarajevo, 50,000 are connected to the gas-fired district heating system. Other 50,000 have individual natural gas heating, while a total of 100,000 households use other fuels for heating, such as coal, firewood, or crude oil. So that's the fact that there is a lot of space for improvement and for replacement of the old and inefficient heating systems in our pilot region. The sources of emissions in the canton of Sarajevo, with the greatest impact on air quality, are residential and transport sectors. Because heating in some parts of Sarajevo is provided through a district heating system based on natural gas, while the other areas depend on coal or biomass-fired boiler rooms, traditional coal stoves in individual houses, and gas boilers in apartments. And only 34% of the housing sector and 10% of public sector in Sarajevo is connected to the district heating system. So from the other hand and the other perspective, from policy perspective, the goals for sustainable heating and cooling system replacement for Canton of Sarajevo are based on a few strategic documents, and the legal framework is absent, and there is crucial need for a strategic and systematic approach for heating sector, and that would ensure its harmonization with the priority areas. So that's the brief overview of our pilot region in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I will share with you another information and more details in the continue of the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samra, for this first overview. And I would say let's move on to Bulgaria. And Angel, please give us a little overview what the situation is there.
Thank you. My name is Angel Nikolaev. I represent the Black Sea Energy Research Center, the Bulgarian partner in Replace. Just a short introduction of our region and the heating. Our pilot region in Bulgaria is Rhodope region. It is a rural mountainous region with relatively low temperatures and respectively high heating demand. Most residents in the region are energy poor and live in single-family houses. And the majority of them, maybe about 70%, use firewood as heating source. Firewood is used in inefficient and polluting stoves, separate ones in each premise. So this causes substantial environment problems, and also it is very labor intensive due to manual operation. And other sources of heating in the region, much less popular than firewood, are coal briquettes, wood pellets, and air-to-air heat pumps. And there is no district heating in the region because it is not densely populated. Thank you.
So the main strategy just asked would be obviously to get rid of the inefficient heating system and replace them by more efficient systems. Do you have like some ideas what that is going to be by and large? Because as it said, district heating presumably would not be an option there.
Yes, sure. The efficient systems we are trying to introduce in the region are mostly air-to-air heat pumps and wood pellets, and in some regions they can be combined with solar thermal.
Okay, thank you very much. Emilia, do you want to give us an overview, please?
Sure. Thank you, Karina. My name is Emilia Mikhailovska, and I work as a researcher at Skopje. We are involved in many Horizon projects and also other projects that are dealing with renewable heating and cooling, climate change issue, energy efficiency, sustainable development, and green economy. Our pilot region is called Kagop region in the Replace project, and it consists of 3 municipalities that are part of the capital, Skopje of North Macedonia. I will start just a bit about the electricity generation at first, as it is most fossil fuel based. We have more than 50% of thermal power plants, then a smaller share for the hydro, and also the natural gas, CHP, and smaller share of renewable sources. However, this has been changing over the times, and the renewables have been increasing over the years. On the downside, we are also importing a lot of electricity and natural gas and oil products. Regarding the heating sector, I would say that our district heating system is only operational in the capital. So maybe like 25% of the households are connected to district heating. And in general, on national level, we have like 10% of households that are connected to district heating, but large share of households, 60% are still heating with firewood, and also we have a large share of 30% that are using electricity, and another small percent that are using other fuel types. Of course, the changes of prices with the electricity are rising, and the pellet prices are rising as well. So that is not really beneficial for the subsidies that are in place already. So that's a short overview, and we can discuss it further on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sure I will also ask you about the current situation a little bit, because obviously a lot has happened in the past weeks, yeah, so thank you very much. And also, just a side note, I did apologize to every speaker beforehand about my pronunciation of names. I know it's very bad, so thank you for patience and introducing yourself as well. Thank you very much. So let's move on to Austria. Herbert Tretter, please give us a short overview of our situation here in Austria.
Yeah, thank you. In Austria, we have 4 million households. 1.2 million households are connected to the district heating grid, so that's pretty much 30% of the households. But 35% of the households are still fossil fueled. So 900,000 are connected to the natural gas grid, and 500,000 households are still heating with heating oil. The good message is heating oil shall be phased out by 2035. 500,000 heating oil systems in our target region in Salzburg. Situation is a little bit better. There are 250,000 households. 35% are connected to the district heating grid, and about a quarter is still fossil fueled. So in Salzburg, we need to phase out 40,000 oil boilers and 20,000 gas boilers. And the good message is that we have very good subsidies in Austria, very high subsidies, as you have seen before, 10,000 euros per central heating boiler. And in Salzburg, for example, the requests for energy advice have doubled within the last year. So they have now instead of 45 public advisors. The advice is for free for households in Austria, in Salzburg, and now they have employed over 60 advisors because they have so many requests. The requests when we started with our project were 2,500, and now they have more than nearly 5,000 requests per year for changing an oil boiler. So that's a good message. The other more problematic message is that the market is overheated because we have a lack of installers, and now we see that also the industry is short of materials, so the installers have to wait up to 6 months to get the materials. Some space some storage facilities were welded in Ukraine, so there is insecurity, and also offers are difficult because the installers sometimes don't know how much the equipment will cost in half a year, for example. So there are many challenges too. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think Herbert, you're already touching on the point that obviously the current situation has a big impact also, especially in some countries like Austria, where we are very exposed to natural gas in the heating, 900,000 households. Ingo, do you want to give us a short overview on Germany?
Yes, sure. So hello, everybody. My name is Ingo Ball. I'm a senior project manager at WIP Renewable Energies, a colleague of the other two colleagues involved in the Replace project. And yeah, actually, the situation regarding the heating market, especially in Germany, is pretty comparable, I'd say, with Austria, but even let's say more challenging or worse, whatever you want to say. Just giving you the example for 2022, the situation is that still 75% of our heating systems in Germany, roughly 75% are run by fossil fuels, 49% on gas, and that is really a high amount. You can see, and you can also see that, let's say, heating oil is not on the decrease, but still with 24%, quite a lot. And we've heard that before in this workshop also, of course, that heat pumps are just en vogue. They are discussed everywhere. So in Germany, this is just the same. Until 2030, for example, the German government plans to have in Germany 4.1 to 6 million heat pumps installed all over the country. And just to know where we are currently in the year 2022, we speak of 1 million heat pumps. And there's also, let's say, of course, this is in combination then with an increased need for more electricity. And there have been some studies that say that until 2030, there will be an additional of 130 terawatt hours needed in Germany. And the big question is, of course, where will that come from? And let's say, not ending here with my good stories or information, then one of the biggest electricity providers from Germany informed already via its CEO that there will be price increases, considerable price increases. So this leaves me, let's say, in general, the situation is of course not dramatic, I'd say, because even with rising prices, people won't really get poor, and else the politicians are there to well, find measures, but still it's of course not very comfortable, if I may say so.
So, because I think I want to maybe continue and talk a little about the current situation. So would your conclusion be then that in Germany, the price rises are uncomfortable, but there will be measures basically to support households and sort of counter those effects? Or
yeah, well, actually, this has already been addressed by German politicians. If there are households that, let's say, for them it would not only be uncomfortable, but for which it would be, let's say, a threat, So there, the new government has already reacted and has as a, let's say, how do you call it, a buffer program, maybe a supporting program for these households. Yet of course solutions should be found. And I don't know, will we speak later more about dedicated solutions, and that okay, then I will just tell you now that of course there are solutions for everything, and I will speak about it later.
So for the heating as such, the price rises, you don't see in a way a substantial need to change what's been planned or whatever. It's just a question of introducing measures basically and solutions to counter the effects.
Is that still going to me, or is it now going to the whole
panel?
That
was my follow-up question before I move forward, but.
Yeah, let's say that the measures are for those who really would have no other way to cope with such a situation. For the rest, I think now is actually the situation. This is I mean, we have a very special political situation since World War II, the first time I think that we have a really war conflict in Europe, and of course I hope that this will end soonest. Yet you see, of course, all the implications of such unforeseeable, let's say, developments in politics, and I mean, for all the for the majority of people, I think, in not only in Germany but probably all over Europe, this will mean well, harder times in the normal lives. Also, of course, for the heating part in their lives.
Yeah. Thank you for giving a little bit more details here. And I would also like to ask Samra, you talked that you have natural gas also in heating. So how has the current situation impacted your heating sector or your households? Have they felt the price rise?
In our pilot region and in our country in general is the same situation as in the other countries. The fuel prices are rising every day, and we are facing with some energy crisis, and it's difficult to overcome because we have a lot of barriers and challenges before the energy crisis. So for now, it's very hard to overcome the new situation and to find the solution and measures to find a better solution and to ensure a new heating system based on pellets, because the prices of pellets is so high in comparison with fossil fuel as a coal. So it's the main risk and challenge for households and for citizens to choose renewable energy systems such as pellets. And in many cases, they decide to go back from pellets to go back to coal. So it's a very difficult situation, but we should need and government need to find solution to overcome this situation.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that the price rises sometimes they actually change the economic incentives to the worse in a way. So that's obviously not what we want. I'm also curious, Emilia, you mentioned you have a lot of electricity actually in the heating, and the price rises. Has that changed people's wish to maybe change their heating system, or do they want to go back to other systems?
Well, yes, as I mentioned, electricity prices are increasing, and maybe everything is happening in short notice, so the people don't have, and we are at the end of the heating season, so we don't have time to switch maybe to another heating option. But however, the other options, for example, the pellets, are even more expensive now than they were before. So now we have to come up with another option that would be beneficial for everybody. And as I said, we also like not new technology, but maybe it's a technology that we are installing lately in our regions. It's are the inverters, and they also consume electricity. And we have subsidies for that. So we have to really think about it, what we're gonna do next year.
Yeah, that sounds like a very difficult situation and challenge for all of us. Angel, you mentioned you mainly have biomass in a way, and will have maybe pellets or heat pumps. Have you felt the price increases, or has that changed in a way the outlook for the heating sector?
Indeed, we are lucky not to have gas and fuel oil in the region, or very limited gas maybe. But the price increase is actually working against our replacement campaign, because we have a substantial increase of pellet prices, and we try to introduce pellets. And second, although currently the electricity prices for households are still low because of moratorium of the government, everyone expects that this policy will not last forever, and there would be electricity price increase, which will work against the introduction of heat pumps, unfortunately. So my projection is that more people will prefer to stay at their inefficient use of firewood and coal, and this would delay the transition to better technologies.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean the prices change the economics, and unfortunately, as we've heard, in many countries or regions, not in a way to the benefit of renewable systems. On a sort of bigger level, however, I would say that the current situation has made it very clear that fossil fuel dependency is not a good idea, basically, not at all. So the question in a way is, and that has been posed in the chat, I mean, we know for reasons of energy security, we know for our climate, for our planet, we should get out of fossil fuel, out of inefficient heating. And we have known that in a way for really a very long time. I mean, the Austrian Energy Agency was founded 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, with exactly those goals. So the question is, in a way, why hasn't it happened yet? What are the barriers or the challenges beyond the current situation? Maybe why haven't we already done it, or why are we not further in a way? And because I think that's such a tough question, I will ask you to have it first. To take it away and maybe see the Austrian situation in particular. I know it's difficult here. So
yeah, I think we are, as the German colleagues, are lucky to be born in a wealthy country rather. So what helped here is the high subsidies the government recently opened for the heating market, for phasing out oil and now also gas. So there's big funds, billions of euros are spent now in the next couple of years to phase out those energy carriers, and in some regions, I think in Austria it's between 30 to, if you refurbish also the house, you can get up to 60% of the total investment of the refurbishment and the modernization of the heating system. That's really much. And in Germany, I think it's 40% of boiler replacement. But what also happens, what we have heard before, is that the pellet prices have risen in countries that are not so wealthy, where purchase power is not so high. That's also because of the exports. Many pellets are exported now from those regions to those more wealthy. And that is what we see, that especially the countries or people that have less income need assistance, financial assistance, maybe from European Union or Solidarity Fund, because that we will need, because otherwise we will have really problems also in Austria for low income households, because they can't escape this situation. And that's, I think, one of the priorities we need, is that to help low income households to escape this situation, especially from natural gas and also from oil, because they have they spend most of the income, or a very high share of the income, for energy and for food, for the basic needs. And I think in Europe we have still a lot of money around, and we should be more solidarity, show more solidarity. That would be my recommendation. Let's say like that.
For European solidarity, I like that a lot. Just maybe to clarify a little bit, so you're saying we do have, in a way, money or measures, subsidies to get people to change the system, so that money is there. But you also mentioned at the beginning that there's a question of installers or boilers and parts. So do you see that as a sort of barrier for actually achieving our goals of getting rid of oil and eventually phasing out natural gas?
Yes, that's true. The households are now really thinking about to get out of imports dependency, and more people are asking for changeover, to check if it's beneficial for them and if they can afford it. And we have, as Ingo also said, we have two less installers to cope with this big wave of requests to get offers for switch over, to get a date when the installer visits the house and to get an offer. One option that we in our region are now establishing is a one-stop shop for changeovers. And the idea behind is that the industry, the boiler manufacturers, the energy companies, that they, for example, hire people that make tasks like to deinstall old equipment and to dispose the old systems, so that the installers would have more time to concentrate on the core activities. So the kind of work sharing model, that was our hope, or is our hope, that then more boilers can be exchanged if the cooperation is increased, and if the installers can really concentrate on the core activities and not do all the process by themselves, but if they help among each other, because the industry wants to sell more boilers, but the bottleneck is the installers. And if everybody helps the installers, that they can concentrate really on the core activities, then more replacements could take place. That's our aim with our one-stop shop, mainly, to facilitate such cooperation models.
Already offering maybe a little bit of the solution here, or possible solution that we can think about. I want to sort of pick up, maybe because you also mentioned it at the beginning, and Angel mentioned it in the media, about the pellets prices and the pricing situation, they're changing the economics or incentives. I don't know what to take it, Angel or Amelia, would you say that it is the biggest barrier now that you're facing, or the challenge, that the incentives or the economics has changed? Or are there other challenges and barriers that sort of stand in the way of getting out of the old system?
I can just shortly say, and maybe Angel can add something if he wants. So yes, definitely it makes more difficult for us because the pellet prices increase. But there are many barriers, other barriers that to decarbonize the residential heating and cooling sector. So maybe we can divide those in several categories, maybe financial, legal, and even socio-economic barriers. For our case, regarding the inefficient financial support, we're lacking the fund for energy efficiency for the buildings. For those who are not connected to district heating, investment per apartment is really expensive. Another thing about the legal limitations is that we don't have a strategy or plan for annual renovation, and also no requirements to set the new buildings with the renewable energy source systems. And also like a general, not issue, but maybe the challenge is the low awareness of the efficient heating and cooling technologies that are in place. And maybe the lack of educated staff there in the municipalities. So that will be in short.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent overview, and I think covers a lot of the aspects that are at stake here, and that's obviously why change is also so difficult, because you have to cover so many different areas in a way. Engel, do you want to add to that? Maybe also specifics in Bulgaria.
Sure. In Bulgaria and our region in particular, there are two main barriers I see which hamper the replacement to more efficient technologies. One is that people use firewood for generations, and when we talk to them, we see that they cannot even imagine to change the fuel or technology, especially people in villages. There is no other practice to see even in the village. This combined with the low price of firewood and coal as well, and abundance in the region, it is really difficult to change the mindset. And the other main barrier is financial. It includes two parts. First is inadequate pricing of fuels and electricity that does not reflect the externalities. So polluting options are not becoming expensive, and vice versa. And the second aspect, financial aspect, is that there is no financial support to households to invest in clean and efficient heating, except for single large municipalities. In all other municipalities, residents cannot receive any support.
Thank you very much. I think let's also look at Bosnia and Herzegovina. Do you see it's sort of similar of the challenges we've heard, or the particular things relevant to you?
Yes, very similar situation is in Bosnia and Herzegovina in our pilot region. But considering the main challenges and barriers in Sarajevo Canton in terms of decarbonization of the residential heating sector, it is important to emphasize that residential buildings are still mostly energy inefficient. And one of the key reasons for energy inefficiency of housing is the low level of income, which reduces the availability of funds needed to improve energy efficiency and switch to low carbon techniques or energy sources. So another challenge that arises when implementing energy efficiency measures and encouraging the use of renewable energy sources is the lack of financing model that systematically links all funding sources, programs, and projects, and ensure financing the implementation of all of these measures. So another barrier to changing the current heating system with the renewable energy system in our pilot region is energy poverty aspects, as I mentioned before, which makes the cost of replacing the system so high, often unaffordable for many citizens, and especially now when we are facing with the energy crisis and fuel prices are rising every day. So the similar situation, we need we need financial mechanisms, and we need some policy instruments to overcome these barriers and challenges we are facing.
Thank you very much for that input. Just as a note from me, obviously, if you want me or to ask a specific question to the panel or one of the panelists, for example, on the situation in their country, please feel free to do so. Of course, we can also address that. And with that, I would again, Ingo, we already talked a little bit, but maybe you have some more challenges, sort of specific for Germany also you want to add.
Well, actually, I think that the really barriers in Germany are quite similar to the Austrian ones. There is just let's say we have the subsidies, the funding schemes, and yet then there is the lack of skilled workers that we need. It's actually really interesting to hear about this this one-stop shop concept from Austria, and I'm curiously following whether this all really will work. Because if let's say you can show in Austria that this will help and support the let's say the installers, then I think that this should be also discussed in Germany. And what let's say still is, of course, a barrier regarding more renewables is that we, of course, we have let's say players in the market that still like to sell their fossil products. We haven't spoken too much about that, but this is just a matter of fact. And in Germany, at least in recent years, you could more or less see that these systems were, you could almost call them at discount rate, offered to interested clients, and of course this was not very beneficial for the renewable market. And I don't know whether we have time yet regarding Bulgaria. This information about the use of firewood is of course interesting if we know or if we look at these logwood boilers that where basically you have also modern possibilities, and then you mentioned only that you focus on pellets. Was that also, let's say, at least discussed in Bulgaria, that let's say if they don't switch to pellets, then at least they could have their material and maybe store it in another way, get some education on how to best storage it, how to prepare it best, and then how to burn it best?
Yes, you're completely right. That is a very good solution, the logwood boilers. We're discussing it. Of course, we prefer switch to pellets because it is automated and avoids all manual work. Also, it's more efficient and clean. But on the other hand, given that people are used to firewood already, it is a very easy step to first introduce these firewood boilers. And indeed, when we use the replace heating calculator, in many cases, these firewood boilers appear to be the most economical solution.
Thank you, Ingo, for the question, and I will to answer it. So if I sort of maybe can sum up this sort of challenges, is the first is to actually get the funding and the financing and the support for the households and adapt the framework conditions. But then, as we've heard in Austria and Germany, even if you have the money and the funding, you still need the installers and the boilers to actually make the change. So I suppose it doesn't even stop there. Now we are sort of nearing the end of our discussion, but obviously we don't want people to go out and think there are no solutions, because one of the aims of Replace is to try and find solutions or at least ideas suggestions of how we can sort of move forward and what we need to do to address these challenges. So I would ask each of you to sort of give us your ideas of what that could be. And I think I would just go around to the table if we had one, but we don't. But so Samra, if you could sort of tell us what kind of you would see as possible solutions or instruments or tools that could help.
Maybe can I start, because we talked a lot about pellets price rises by 100%, which we have observed in Southeastern European countries. We had a similar situation 10 years ago in Austria, and this was also made by the pellets industry by itself, because the industry should also take into account the home market. And the stable home market is also important, because they have less transport distances, they have less risks. And what the Austrian industry learned is that they always now keep the demand that is domestic, they keep it in the country. They don't export it to make quick money anymore, because the Austrian market is also important for the producers in Austria. And so now they really stabilized the prices for a long time, because in Austria the price difference to Italy is very high, because Italians consume small amounts, but they consume it in bags. And in Austria, all the pellets are sold in as loose materials, or in 3 tons or 6 tons, and not in 20 kilo bags. So the prices are very high in Italy, and the demand is high. But the industry now sees it necessary to keep the amount that's needed in Austria on the domestic market. And this would also be a recommendation for all the countries in Southeastern European countries to develop a home market. And there the politicians also need to take action. In Austria, for example, the industry itself suggested to make a strategic storage, like for oil. So to have pellets storage for 100 days of demand in Austria, for example. So that offer came from the industry itself, to get trust, to build trust in this, because pellets are ideally for oil, for phasing out oil, because there's a storage room, and if you can't afford to refurbish your house, then a biomass system is something that works. Heat pumps don't work in such cases. Yeah. That was my input.
Thank you, Herbert, for the input. Sort of storage as a way to stabilize prices. But obviously, before we talk about prices, we have to change the system. Saying that's also where some of the financing issues and things come in. So again, Samra, I would ask you to tell us a little bit about what you envision of what possible solutions would be.
Yes, thank you, Herbert, for your advices, and it's very useful for us and for our country. I would like to mention some useful projects and very successful projects that are implemented in our pilot region. So UNDP, within their program in cooperation with the government of Canton of Sarajevo, currently implementing a project to subsidize the replacement of boilers with coal and with renewable energy systems and heat pumps, especially with pellets and heat pumps. So the main objective of the project is to reduce air pollution in Sarajevo Canton, especially in parts where the replacement of boilers and air, where air quality is very low. So Another objective of this project is to create preconditions for establishing a sustainable model to support the replacement of boilers and in the future. So that's the positive project, and very the first time project in our pilot region. So we hope that in the future the government will recognize the similar project and continue with that. So because the citizens need subsidized scheme and need instrument for replacement. So also all strategy documents will be useful. Now in Canton of Sarajevo, government drafting a strategy to reduce the use of coal and another solid fuels in Canton of Sarajevo. The strategy will provide a list of priority zones and areas which have the biggest impact of quality of air, and show where resources for the repair and upgrade of the heating system should be directed. So that's the concrete measures that are very useful and needed for our pilot region. But I would like to mention that we are at the beginning of decarbonization and energy transition. So that's the first project as this type. So we hope that we will continue with these steps and strategies in combination with financial mechanisms.
Thank you very much. I mean, that sounds like a really great step in a good direction here, and hope you sort of roll out the lessons learned basically from this project. So thank you very much. I would move over. I think already heard quite a bit about the Austrian way and sharing the different division of work basically between installers, etc. So I would, in view of the time, we also move directly to Germany. And Inga, if you sort of give us your main ideas or solutions that we need right now.
Yes, thank you, Karina. As actually, I'm coming from the company WIP Renewable Energies, but I'm also and then foremost, let's say, I'm speaking also for our colleagues from Energiewende Oberland, and those are the ones in Replace who are implementing all these measures and let's say interesting tools that in Replace we have developed. So basically, we are not, let's say, not in the field. The colleagues at the Oberland are that, and they have actually already found really nice approaches, one can say. They have a concept that is called Dorfheizung, so you could call it a village heating, which is basically is looking into really small village, maybe some houses where you have one farmer, for example, that has enough wood, and then they think about installing a microgrid. This has happened already several times in Oberland, and I think, of course, it has been proven there that it works. And these framework conditions should be found in many other places all over Europe. So probably this is something that can be replicated, and of course the colleagues from Energiewende Oberland would be glad, I think, to share their knowledge and the experiences there. What they've also done, just to inform more and more people about the possibility to learn more about sustainable heating, is a concept called Energiekarawane. Energy caravan, maybe, where basically several specialists go into a part of a city, and they locally make an information campaign, more or less like moving from house to house. And like this, they actually, of course, they get into, let's say, into the talks if the people then meet there. And this has also already shown a big success. yeah, and of course they have all these information packages that, for example, that are needed at their homepage. For example, information is in the core, and we spoke about subsidies. Yet in Germany, it is complicated to receive finally the subsidy. And what Energiewende Oberland did is they have produced a dedicated video where you can follow step by step what you as a civil person need to do. So basically, there are nice solutions, and I think it's worth to visit Replay's website to find out more about that.
That sounds very, very good, because I was getting a bit down after our challenges section. So I'm glad to see all those very nice examples and that things can change. Angel, maybe you can give us one example or two from Bulgaria as well.
Good example from Bulgaria is difficult to give because we have only one practice with 100% grant for heating replacement in selected municipalities, but I don't think this example is very sustainable from financial point of view. What works best are some tools we have produced in Replace project. We evidence that the technological fact sheets are very useful for to motivate residents to be interested in replacement. Also, the best practice examples we produced in Replace, because they are first-hand insights from residents from our region and from other regions about their experience with replacing. And what we also evidence from Replace is how beneficial the information hubs are. People need locally placed information hubs in municipalities, which can provide information, advice, and even assist them maybe with visits to homes to assess the heatings.
Thank you very much. I hear also a lot of sort of local things happening here with the village heating and local advice. So that seems to be a big part here. I would say last but not least, Emilia, if you also want to add maybe solutions or things that would be important for.
So in the last few years, we were developing many strategic documents that are in line with the Europe legal framework, although we're not a country which is part of the European Union, but however, we're following their strategic goals and measures. And also we are developing, we already have in place a few subsidies, as I mentioned before, for pellets, for inverters, and also for maybe roof and facade construction as well. And maybe if I could point one that maybe needs some restriction or redefining the subsidizing model is to have more subsidies in the field of heat pumps and also PV systems that are now actually allowed for each household up to 4 kilowatts. So that's like the latest news for us. And also retrofitting the existing buildings by 1% each year would be an additional measure that should be in place.
Thank you very, very much for all your good ideas, and I'm glad we ended with the solution and suggestions rather than with the problems. In view of time, I think I know you all know so much, and I would like to ask you lots more questions, but in view of the time, I would say we move on to our wrap up and recommendations. But let me all thank you very, very much for discussing here with us today. And obviously, if there are any more sort of questions specific to the things we've had here, I'm sure our panelists are happy to sort of reply also in the chat. So thank you very, very much for your input. Now, last but not least, certainly, we have a little wrap up and some recommendations, and that will be given to us from ESCAN Energy Consulting, Spanish partners. I see him already, Ignacio. There he is. So please fire away and take it from here. Thank you. I can see the slides, but I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So, well, good afternoon. I'll try to make the conclusions as quick as possible since we're about to run out of time. So my name is Ignacio and I work for Scan Energy Consulting. And well, let's start by reminding the audience that 50% of the European final energy consumption is used for heating and cooling. And this sector is responsible for over 68% of all natural gas imports in Europe. And the big majority of these heating systems are used in Europe use fossil fuels such as oil or natural gas, which produce a high impact regarding CO2 emissions. Well, Replace aims to boost the replacement of these inefficient and old boilers for more sustainable and environmentally friendly solutions by targeting consumers, investors, intermediaries, and helping them make informed decisions. To help this objective, Replace has worked on studying the market situation of the 8 pilot regions participating in the project by analyzing their barriers and drivers and grouping up the stakeholders of each region in local working groups to learn about their priorities and challenges. Then it has elaborated a set of tools and information materials to help stakeholders and consumers make these well-informed decisions. And finally, it has implemented a campaign to draw attention to these issues and help people make the right choices when replacing their old heating systems. These campaigns include actions such as workshops, open house events, labeling of the renewable systems and homes, feasibility studies, implementation of information hubs and one-stop shops, collective actions, and many more. Well, some of the things that we have learned along this workshop are that the majority of the population agrees that using renewable or and more efficient heating and cooling systems is the way to go forward. But the pricey initial investments is one of the major drawbacks for the average consumer. Most consumers will rather wait until their old system starts failing to make a replacement. Although this general opinion is changing due to the increase in energy prices and better information about the long-term benefits of these renewable systems. Well, the campaign has also been useful and welcomed by the population, from consumers to stakeholders. Some of the actions have been a challenge to implement, but these local measures with low budgets are making a bigger impact than sometimes the direct spending of subsidies using public money. In fact, those subsidies are better implemented when the population is well informed beforehand. Also, in some regions, the scarcity of installers leads to a long queue to implement subsidies. If a large number of people want to replace their heating systems during the same period of time, the process takes a while and goes slower. One of the approaches to maximize the impact in a shorter time frame is to address multiple households at once and try to develop a collective action, like the small district heating systems that Ingo talked about. Initiatives such as one-stop shops with the objective to make stakeholders work together and make the installers focus on their main tasks of installing new heating systems, while manufacturers hire other teams for dismantling old systems, are good approaches, since many regions are still highly dependent on fossil fuels. And in order to maximize this number of boiler replacements for renewable systems, a skilled workforce is necessary, and at the same time is a key limiting factor. And lastly, depending on the region, the increase of the gas and electricity prices have had different consequences in the mindset of the general population and the prices related to the renewable heating and cooling systems. Firstly, higher gas prices are making fossil fuel heating systems less viable and appealing than before, making consumers look for other alternatives such as biomass, heat pumps, geothermal, or solar heating. Although in regions where the electricity mix depend heavily on gas, have seen higher electricity prices, and so the alternatives such as heat pumps have become less desirable than others like biomass. But in the other hand, other regions where biomass is not produced locally have also seen an increase in the price of pellets due to the increase of the fuel prices for the transport that the pellets require. Well, even though most prices are increasing, the increase is considerably higher for fossil fuels than it is for biomass or electricity or other renewable sources. So the replacement of all inefficient fuels boilers has become more desirable than it was a few months ago, but the ratio of replacements has slowed down due to the overall inflation prices. So to finish, thank you for attending the Replace workshop. And well, if you have any questions, feel free to write an email to us as well. And I would like to thank the organizers of the World Sustainable Energy Days and our partners and colleagues from the Replace project. And so thank you again and have a nice weekend.
Yes, thank you very, very much for the recommendations. I think that in way was already the closing. I was also going to thank obviously the organizers, the team at WSD for preparing and organizing things perfectly, and also of course Benedetta for all the work she did in preparing, all the speakers, everybody involved, the audience who stayed with us on a Friday afternoon. And let's be in touch, visit the website, write us. I'm sure we're all happy to continue the exchange after today. And with that, I wish you a very, very nice Friday, a nice weekend, and I hope to see you again very soon. Please, please, in real life, I want to see you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Many thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.